Hi, fellas. Let's go meet Art Long, a body service technician who's just returned from a training session on body servicing at a Chrysler training center. Looks like he's already briefing his assistant, Leo Turner.
Nice to see you again, Tech. Say, I picked up a lot of useful information on convertible servicing, and the boss wants me to pass it along to Leo.
I was sure glad to hear that. Convertibles are my weakness, you know.
Unless I'm mistaken, you send all your convertible work to that specialty trim shop down the street.
I confess I have, but in the future, they'll get nothing but trim work, which we're not equipped to handle. You see, there's really no trick to making the convertible glass and top adjustments that I've shied away from.
Well, I'm sure glad to see you've come around to my way of thinking. Now, what's your program?
Well, I want to show Leo that there are enough built-in adjustment features to take care of all appearance and water and air leak conditions and ensure ease of raising and lowering the top.
Where do we start, Art?
Hold your horses, Leo. Remember, the convertible top is an attached unit and not an integral part of the body like on sedans and hardtops. So the first thing you've got to consider is the body or foundation for the top.
That's right, Leo. Since we've got to line up the top with some part of the body structure, we first have to consider the fit of the doors in their openings, then the vent wing, door, and quarter window alignment.
Oh, I see. A sort of process of elimination to get a quick diagnosis of the trouble, huh?
I'm glad to hear you say that, Leo. It doesn't make much difference what the subject is. First find out what's causing the trouble, then fix it.
In the case of water or air leaks at the top header or side windows, it's important to raise the door and quarter windows and check the alignment of roof side rails with the vent wing and windows.
That's so you can find out whether the trouble's due to misalignment of the body glass or the roof side rails.
How do you go about that, Art?
Well, with the top lowered, sight along the top edges of the vent wing, door, and quarter glass. If they don't line up, you'll have to correct the glass alignment before going any farther.
And remember, Leo, if any glass adjustments are required, be sure and start at the vent wing and work back. Follow the instructions outlined in the reference book for session number 63-1, and you'll have no trouble.
Thanks, Tech. What's next?
Well, let's get back to the top. There are 3 minor adjustments on the linkage that will generally correct any header or roof side rail misalignment conditions that could cause water leaks or be responsible for poor appearance. Let's cover the top header adjustment first. On Dodge 880, Chrysler, and Imperial models, the top header and side rails are joined by 2 horizontally positioned header to side rail screws located on the inside of the header panel. There is an additional screw on the header to secure the panel clip. Now, on Valiant, Dart, Dodge, and Plymouth models, 2 vertically positioned header to side rail screws in the top header behind the panel join the header and side rail. Loosening these screws on both sides lets you move the header forward or backward to get uniform clearance between the windshield and top headers. Tighten the screws securely when you get the correct adjustment.
Bear in mind that forward adjustment will be limited by the top material itself.
Another thing, Leo, sometimes it's necessary to adjust the header fore or aft to make it easier to engage the top header dowels in the windshield header.
Are those latches on the top header adjustable?
Yes, they are, Leo, and they've got to be adjusted carefully so you get the right tension on the top header weatherstrip to help prevent air and water leaks.
Are the latch adjustments the same on all models?
No, Leo, they're not. On Valiant, Dart, Plymouth, and Dodge models, except the 880 series, you adjust the locking hooks on the latches. Turn the hook in to increase locking effort, out to decrease the effort. On Dodge 880 series, Chrysler, and Imperial models with a single center-mounted latch, 2 torsion bar screws adjust the tension. These are located in each side of the top header and are accessible through holes on the underside of the header near the dowels. Turn the screws in or clockwise to increase tension and out or counterclockwise to decrease it.
Be careful when adjusting the latches to avoid putting excessive locking or unlocking effort in the handles.
While we're talking about the top header, there's a water leak correction on Valiant and Dart tops you should know about. Occasionally, on some early models, the adjustment we just discussed doesn't correct the condition. Here's the story. With the top lowered, remove the black metal weatherstrip end retainers. discard them and the attaching screws. Then carefully lift the weather strip from its retainer.
There's an important tip here, Leo. Inspect the weather strip. If it has been distorted by the retainer, discard it and install a new one. It can't be reshaped to provide an effective seal.
Okay, Tech. I'll watch it.
Punch a 3/16-inch hole in the weather strip, midway between the two end retainer screw holes. Also, drill a number 28 hole in the top material retainer in line with the new hole in the weather strip. Seal the joints between the header and side rails at each corner. First, apply 1-inch balls of body sealer in the notches at the juncture of the front roof side rail and top header. Then, you cement 2 strips of polyethylene foam seal across the header and form a butt joint at the center of the header. Next, install the top material retainers to hold the foam seals in place. Following this, place 1/2-inch balls of body sealer under the tabs of the curved top material retainers. Also, apply 4-inch lengths of sealer in the notches at the juncture of the 2 top material retainers. Apply a coat of cement on the weather strip and on the inside of the weather strip retainer. Then, install the weather strip.
Cementing the weather strip in the retainer is an important step, Leo. You see, the cement helps to hold the weather strip lip in proper position to provide a good seal against the windshield header.
To finish the job, fasten the weather strip in place at both corners with a round washer head screw and plain washer. Then, water test the area. Any questions, Leo?
No. I was just wondering about water testing, but you've covered that. Water testing is a sure way to double-check your work.
Okay. Another important check is that of roof side rail alignment. The front, center, and rear rails must be parallel to the glass. This will ensure a good weather seal across the top of the vent wing, door glass, and quarter glass. If the hinge between the front and center rails is jackknifed open, the roof side rail weather strip provides only a partial seal at the door glass.
Yeah, I can see that. What's the fix?
Use a 1/8-inch Allen wrench to turn the set screw in the front rail counterclockwise to straighten the joint until it's properly aligned.
I see how that works.
Now, there's another hinge adjustment between the center and rear roof side rails. If the hinge joint here is open, preventing a good seal between the roof side rail weather strip and the quarter glass, adjust the set screw at the hinge to correct it. To align these 2 side rails, you'll have to remove the side rail weather strip and retainer. Then, adjust the set screw on the underside of the side rail as required to align the rails with the quarter glass.
I think before Art gets going again, someone out there should turn the record over.
Generally, the 2 hinge set screw adjustments will correct any side rail alignment problems you'll encounter, Leo, so it isn't too often a major linkage adjustment has to be made. However, if it is needed, you first remove the rear seat and the pocket panels on both sides so you can get to the main control prop link adjusting brackets.
Leo, you'll find it a lot easier to adjust the brackets if you unlatch the top header to relieve the tension from the linkage.
Yes, Tech, that is important. Next, with the door and quarter glass raised, you loosen the 2 attaching screws just enough to move the bracket and linkage up or down.
I see. Raising the bracket and linkage brings the side rails down. This adjustment can be used to improve the weather strip fit with the door and quarter glass.
That's right, Leo. And when you get the proper alignment, tighten the attaching screws securely.
But don't stop there, Leo. Recheck the 2 hinge set screw adjustments and adjust the set screws if required to just bring them in contact with the drive studs in the adjoining rails.
I'll watch that, Tech.
Watch this, too. The side rails on both sides must be parallel. If adjusting the prop bracket on one side puts a twist in the top linkage, check the center rail-to-rear rail set screw and prop link bracket adjustments on the opposite side.
I was just going to ask you whether the adjustment on one side had any effect on the other side, but that answers my question.
There's one more thing about this adjustment you should know. If a customer complains that he has to pull the top to one side to engage the dowels in the sockets, or that the top shifts to one side when he raises it off the windshield header, then the first thing to do is check the adjustment of the prop link brackets. If these brackets are not properly adjusted, the operating angle of the linkage will be wrong and cause the top to twist.
I see. That means checking adjustments on both sides. Tell me something. Does adjusting this power guide link have any effect on the top fit?
No, it doesn't, Leo. The power guide link support adjustment is actually a production means of compensating for slight variations in the power cylinder mounting position on the floor pan.
That's right, Leo. Although this support is adjustable, it's not intended as a regular service adjustment. So normally, hands off. There's a story on it in the reference book. Be sure to read it.
Okay, Art. That I'll do.
Here's still another adjustment, one that'll help improve the appearance of the top material over the door glass. Sometimes the top material hangs down too low over the side rails, or it appears to be cut too short. To correct this on all models, except Valiants and Darts, the front bow is adjustable up and down. Loosening the screw at each end and adjusting the bow upward will remove any unsightly slack in the material.
Sharp edges on the upper end of the door glass molding will cut the top material when the door is closed. If you find any, be sure and dress them down.
Right. And if the roof side rails are showing, loosen the screws on the bow and adjust the bow downward as required to improve the top appearance.
What's the fix on Valiant and Dart models?
Well, since a small amount of material shrinkage is considered normal on all tops, temporarily installing padding between the stay padding and top material on each side will take up the slack. This can be removed later when it's no longer needed.
Don't trim the top material, pad it.
And don't forget the Weatherstrip retainer is adjustable in or out on the side rails. If necessary, loosen the screws located under the Weatherstrip and adjust the retainer to assure a good seal across the top of the glass.
I see. That's similar to the retainer adjustment on hardtops.
Right, Leo. But don't lose sight of the fact that in some exceptional cases, it might be necessary to make a slight glass channel tilt adjustment and upstop adjustment to get best results.
I'll remember that, Tech. What you and Tech have told me so far seems quite clear, but what's the purpose of these two cables attached to the rear bows? I haven't figured that out yet.
Those are rear bow tension cables, and they're intended to keep the rear bow from moving forward and wrinkling the top material. They also prevent excessive tension on the backlight zipper.
Are they adjustable or fixed?
They're adjustable. Wrinkles in the top material indicate one of two conditions. Either there's not enough tension on the cables, or the cable tension is unequal. In either case, by adjusting the cables at the upper end to a set of dimensions applicable to each model, the top can be made more presentable. As an example of the procedure, we'll do it on this Plymouth. First, unlatch the top header to relieve the tension. Then, on the inside, locate and mark the center line of the top on the rear bow and the ledge of the top well under the backlight. Now, from the center line, measure 20 inches to either side at the bow and the ledge. These are the locating points for backlight depth dimensions that govern the cable tension. From these points, you measure down 25 1/2 inches from the rear edge of the rear bow to the ledge of the top well on each side.
I got it. 20 inches over and 25 1/2 inches down. Then what?
If the spacings between the bow and ledge are not according to specs, that is, too large on one side and too small on the other, the cables will have to be adjusted. So, while someone holds the tape measure at one location, remove the screw from the upper end of the cable. Then, while holding the rear bow in the measured position, turn the cable in the proper direction until the eye of the cable lines up with the screw hole. Install the screw. Do the same on the other cable if necessary.
Would that cause any wrinkles to show in the backlight if you have much of an adjustment to make?
Sometimes it would. In that case, you'll have to remove the finish molding and retainer, tighten the backlight, and trim off any material that extends beyond the retainer.
Here's a tip, Leo. Place a strip of masking tape across the deck directly behind the molding. Use this tape to mark the locations of the molding and retainer screws when you remove them. You'll find it makes it easier to locate the screw holes at reassembly.
I'll remember that tip, Tech. Art, what about rear bow adjustments for other models?
Well, they vary, Leo, but there's a chart in the reference book that'll give you the information you need. Remember, the procedure I just outlined, however, is the same for all convertibles. Now, while we're discussing the backlight, I've got a couple of water leak field fixes that I'll tell you about. One is to stop water leakage into the top well between the upper deck opening panel and the molding retainer. This applies to all models except Imperials. First, remove the finish molding and retainer at the bottom of the backlight. Then lift up the top material and the top well material. Spread a bead of body sealer along the front edge of the deck panel. The next step is to place the top well material back in position on the sealer. Then lay a strip of polyethylene foam seal across the well material. Place the backlight in position and install the retainer. Following this, you install an additional number 8 self-tapping screw and plain washer through the backlight material and deck panel about midway between the center and end retainer sections. Then wrap up the job by installing the molding.
That sounds like a real good fix. What's the other one?
Well, there have been some reports of water entering the body through an opening at the quarter window belt on Plymouth and Dodge models. There's a pretty good fix on that, too. From the inside, slit the top fabric flap to the bottom edge of the rear roof side rail and then fold the lower flap outward. This will give you enough room to install the new seal. Coat the inside and top surface of the rubber seal with cement and install it in the bottom of the side rail. Press it against the side of the Weatherstrip and side rail. Do this on both sides. Well, Leo, that about takes care of the convertible servicing story. Be sure you read the reference book. It contains precautions about sharp edges and burrs on the linkage and molding screw ends that can damage the top material.
Thanks a lot, Art. I can see now that servicing convertibles is not nearly as tough as I thought it would be. It just takes common sense to do a thorough job.
Fellas, I think Art did a swell job lining up Leo on those convertible servicing tips he learned at the training center. Now, you master technicians will also find it just as easy and profitable to make convertible adjustments. Remember, convertible customers are generally a pretty fussy lot. Show them that you, too, can be just as fussy about doing a good servicing job on their convertibles.